Before time wove its first thread, before the stars were named, there existed a light so pure, so absolute, it held all of creation within its warm embrace. In this boundless ocean of existence, there were two spirits, born of the same celestial breath. One was named Alaric, the keeper of memories, whose heart was a library of every joy and sorrow the cosmos had ever known. The other was Lyra, the weaver of dreams, whose hands spun the delicate threads of hope and possibility that painted the future. They were inseparable, two halves of a singular melody. Alaric would share stories of forgotten suns and ancient worlds, and Lyra would weave those memories into tapestries of light, creating new stars and galaxies. Their love was the universe's first poem, a testament to harmony and balance. But where there is great light, a shadow can be cast, even one born from love itself. Alaric, in his duty to remember, held on to not just the joys, but also the pains. He stored the echoes of dying stars, the silence of empty worlds, and the first whispers of discord. Over eons, the weight of this cosmic sorrow began to change him. A sliver of pride, thin as a razor's edge, entered his heart. He believed only he could bear this burden, that his suffering made him wiser, deeper than Lyra, whose spirit remained untroubled, forever dancing in the light of what could be. He began to see her hope not as a strength, but as a naivety. "You weave dreams of light," he told her one day, his voice a low rumble where it was once a song, "but you do not understand the darkness that gives them form. You have not felt the true weight of existence." Lyra, her eyes wide with a gentle sadness, replied, "The darkness is not a weight to be carried, my love. It is a space to be filled with light." Our light. But Alaric could no longer see it. The pride had become a veil, distorting his vision. He saw her love as an attempt to diminish his own perceived greatness, his unique sacrifice. In a moment of cold fury, born from an ancient, festering wound, he spoke a word of severance. It was a word so sharp, so final, that it shattered the harmony between them. He accused her of abandoning the truth of suffering for the illusion of joy. The word echoed through the cosmos. The tapestries of light Lyra had woven trembled and tore. Stars flickered, and a chilling silence fell where their shared melody once played. Lyra did not retaliate. She did not argue. She simply bowed her head, and a single tear, made of pure starlight, fell from her eye. As it dropped, it did not vanish. It grew, becoming a radiant sphere of liquid light, a beacon of unconditional love. Alaric turned away, retreating into the shadows he had so long curated. He built a fortress of forgotten sorrows, a kingdom of silent despair. He was alone with his memories, and the pride that had promised him strength now felt like an iron cage. He replayed their final conversation for millennia, the weight of his own words now heavier than all the cosmic grief he had ever held. He had sought to prove his depth, but in doing so had created an emptiness vaster than any void. Meanwhile, Lyra did not cease her work. She took the broken threads of their shared past and began to weave again. But this time she did not weave alone. She guided the tear of starlight, her act of forgiveness, into the darkest corners of the universe. It touched dead worlds, and new life stirred. It passed through nebulas of dust, and new suns were born. Her forgiveness was not a passive act of forgetting. It was an active force of creation, a defiant act of healing. She was not ignoring the darkness, she was transforming it. Eons passed. In his cold fortress, Alaric watched as new light bloomed across the cosmos. He saw galaxies born from the very darkness he had claimed as his own, infused with a brilliance he recognized. It was Lyra's touch. He saw his own bitter memories, the very source of his pride, being rewoven into constellations of hope. His fortress of sorrow was no longer a monument to his strength, but a prison of his own making. The iron cage of his pride began to rust, weakened by the relentless, gentle light that seeped through its walls. He finally understood. The weight he carried was not a measure of his worth, but a burden he had refused to share. Lyra's hope was not naivety, it was the ultimate courage. Her forgiveness was not a weakness, it was the most powerful force in creation. With a heart that ached with the dawn of a new understanding, Alaric took a single step out of his fortress. He was weakened, humbled, a shadow of the spirit he once was. He followed the trail of light, the path her forgiveness had blazed across the heavens. He found her not in a place of triumph, but in the heart of a newly forming star, her hands gently guiding streams of light, her face serene. He did not speak. Words had broken them once. Instead, he knelt. He offered her the only thing he had left, his broken pride, his profound regret. He held out his hands, not with memories of sorrow, but with the empty space where his heart had been. Lyra turned to him, her eyes the same as they were before the first sin, before the first wound. They held no judgment, no memory of the pain he had caused. They held only love. She reached out and placed her hand over his, and in that touch, the universe held its breath. The light of her forgiveness flowed into him, not washing away his memories of sorrow, but cleansing them of their bitterness. The darkness within him was not banished, it was illuminated. His own light, long dormant, flickered back to life, mingling with hers. Their shared melody began to play once more, not as it was before, but deeper, richer, more resilient. It was a song that knew both shadow and light, a harmony born of a wound that had been healed. Alaric, the keeper of memories, and Lyra, the weaver of dreams, were one again. But now they understood a truth more profound than any they had known before. This ancient story, whispered in the starlight, is not just a myth from a time long past. It is the story of every human soul. Within each of us is an Alaric, a part that clings to our wounds, that builds fortresses of pride and hurt. We carry our grievances like shields, believing they make us strong, unique in our suffering. We speak words that sever, that push away the very love that seeks to heal us. And within each of us is a Lyra, a spirit that holds the boundless capacity for forgiveness. It is a quiet power, a gentle insistence that light can fill any darkness. Forgiveness is not about forgetting the wrong or pretending the hurt does not exist. It is the courageous act of choosing to weave a new story. It is the decision to release the poison of resentment, not for the sake of the other, but for the liberation of our own soul. Like Alaric, we often believe that our pain defines us. But true healing begins when we realize that our capacity to forgive is what makes us divine. It is the moment we step out of our self-made prisons of bitterness and follow the light, however faint. It is the act of offering our brokenness, not in shame, but in humility, ready to be made whole again. The power to forgive is the power to create anew. It transforms the deepest wounds into sources of the greatest strength and compassion. It is the starlight tear that can give birth to new worlds within us. Even the fallen can rise again, for the light of forgiveness is never truly lost. It is always there, waiting, ready to weave the broken threads of our lives into a masterpiece of redemption. This is the path to healing the soul. This is the power of forgiveness,